Hello there, kids. Darth Mac is back with my first mod-ish, maybe you can consider it more of a maintenance video on my Z4 Zelda here. And I'm actually going to be working on the DISA valve on the intake manifold. Now, if you yourself have a BMW with an inline 6 from, I think, 95 to 2006, pretty much any motor or any car that has the M50, M52, and M54 engines, you'll probably want to save this video for future reference because it's probably something you want to take care of later on down the line. Now, the issue that these cars have is this particular valve right over here. Now, the exact function of this I hardly looked into.
A DISA valve changes the path of the air in the intake runners for the best low-end, mid-range, and top-end power. The valve works with the engine's computer and variable valve timing system to help produce the best possible scavenging effect for the throttle position and engine RPM.
Now, there's a lot of cars that have already had these replaced, and those are all well and good, but there are aftermarket kits to prevent this issue from ever happening again. And I'll show you the kit that I got in just a second. But yeah, basically this is just going to be a little bit of preventative maintenance just to make sure that my engine doesn't go kablooey one day. Now, one easy way for you to diagnose if this is an issue that your car is having is by having the engine running. If you're starting to hear a ticking sound that's coming from this general direction or area, one way that you can test if it's the DISA valve that's actually failing is by coming over to this connector here. There's a little push pin back there that you can push it in, as you can see. So you push that in and then lift up the plug just like that. If the ticking stops, then you know that your DISA valve is failing. All right, kids, voice over time. So what you want to go ahead and do is grab your 10mm socket, and you're going to go ahead and unbolt the air box. There's just two bolts there. They remove pretty easily. Once you're done with that, go ahead and unclip the air box from the MAF, mass airflow sensor, with your flathead screwdriver. You're going to have to kind of pry it apart. It's not too bad. It comes off pretty easily. All right, now with that out of the way, the charge pipe should be pretty pliable. Next, disconnect your connector for the DISA valve, grab your Torx bits, and loosen the top right-hand one. Now, in order to get to the bottom left-hand one, you're going to want to grab your flathead screwdriver and unscrew the charge pipe as so. That way you can reach the bottom left-hand bolt, the Torx bolt there on the DISA valve. All right. And that should come out just by pulling on it. It is going to be greasy, so make sure to wear your gloves or have something to wipe on. And you'll see there, this DISA valve is in pretty good condition. The plunger works and it spins freely. But I still wanted to upgrade it. Alright guys, so here is the kit that I purchased from a company called Melon. Ooh, that's kind of a weird name for a company. But anyway, what it does is it basically replaces all this plastic crap that will eventually fail on these DISA valves and replaces them with handy dandy, very strong aluminum. And everything is nicely threaded with a nice stainless steel actually screw there that screws onto the flap itself, so nothing can actually become dislodged up here and of course kill your engine. So I'm very happy with this kit. Everything feels very nice and precisely machined, so I have a lot of confidence in this particular kit. Plus it's only $40, so instead of having to buy a brand new DISA valve for, I think it's like $200-300, just buy yourself this kit and rebuild it yourself. That will be a fun little activity for an hour anyway. But I'll go ahead and leave my affiliate link down below in the description of this video so you can buy a kit for yourself. Now, this particular kit that I bought is just for the M54 3-liter engines. but I believe it is compatible with E36s, E46s, E39s. There's a whole parts list. It even takes care of some of the SUVs. Pretty much anything that has an M54 3-liter engine will work with this kit. They do make some for the 2.5 liters, but unfortunately you'll have to search those out yourself. This kit is just for the 3 liters. So let's go ahead and get started.
All right, so first things first, you're going to go ahead and pop off that cap right there. Just like that. This is going to allow you to access everything that you need to remove in order to remove that, that flap. So the first is the retaining clip. You can just pry it off with a screwdriver, just like that. Mine just completely ejected. Once that's out of the way, you can go ahead and lift off that arm off that peg. And now the peg is clipped into the flap itself, so you're gonna want to go ahead and just pull it off like that. Next, we're gonna move on to the pin. This is actually pretty tough since it's basically held on by friction. Just basically pry it up a little bit, use some pliers, and finally plug it off as so. With that out of the way, the flap comes right off. Now this is the most annoying part, is removing the silicone. You don't have to, but I decided to do it since my kit came with some gaskets. What I did is I just scored it all the way around, just like that, and then used a flathead screwdriver to basically scrape it off. Then I installed my brand new gaskets, and I was good to go there. They're much thicker, so they should seal much better.
All right, you know what I just realized? I didn't really fully explain the reason why these things fail and why these types of upgrades are needed. So, kind of let me show you around here. So now you have to kind of use your imagination a little bit. So this is the DISA valve, of course. Well, actually, this is the valve itself. So the way that it sits is, it sits just like that, right? With this pin up top. And then this, what is it called? I guess like a pivot thing. This turns the flap, right? Like that, open and close. Now the problem is that once these plastic parts start to degrade, they'll start to fade or fail, and then basically snap off. Once that happens, and let's say for example, this snaps off at the bottom, this pin at the very top will be set free into the engine. So this is the little bastard that can kill your N54, actually N50, N52, or N54 engine. So definitely not good. Now, how does this particular kit improve upon this design? Well, instead of relying on a pin at the very top, what it does is it has an actual bolt at the very bottom that screws in all the way from the bottom here. And you'll start to see that this has its own built-in pin. So keep itself retained without a pin that is essentially just held on by pure friction. You see? So this is an all built-in system that really cannot fail. These parts will not degrade over time. Obviously it's aluminum, so it'll take a very long time, much longer than plastic. But it should stick around for much longer, probably longer than your engine ever will. And since this is not going to fail, this will stay in place basically forever. So this is a great upgrade for your N50, N52, and N54 3-liter engine. Definitely highly recommend it, although I don't know if I can recommend this particular kit. Yes, I will have my affiliate link down below in the description, but I don't know if I can recommend this kit. Why? Because this stupid asshole is too tall. If I hold it side by side, you'll notice that the top is pretty flush, so that fits. The shape is pretty comparable. It has that taller edge on this side than on this side. But the very bottom, as you see here, is taller. So the reason why I wasn't going in so easily earlier is because this sits too high, or this is too long, therefore it's totally sandwiched in this slot here on the valve, and therefore cannot spin freely at all. So what I'm gonna have to do is get my handy dandy Dremel, shave a little bit off at a time, test fit it, and once it's nice and loose, just like this one is, here, let me show you. On the stock one, as you can tell, the flap goes in nice and easy. No issues whatsoever. See? And it closes nice and tight, right? But still, it's opening and just moving around very easily. With this bastard, I have to jam it in there. It barely sits, and it sticks quite a bit. So much so that the plunger cannot actuate it. So, yeah, here's the thing about this kit, okay? There are more expensive aluminum rebuild kits on the market. There's some that I've seen for like $90, sometimes over $100. This one is considerably cheaper. This one's only $40 kit. But if their quality control is this bad and you have to shave that off, you kind of have to ask yourself, is my time worth that extra $40 plus? Me, I like doing this stuff, so I might as well do it. But I can understand if you don't have a Dremel to shave this off, or what have you. So I totally understand if you decide to skip on this particular kit. I just have to live with it. It's kind of a give and take situation here. But I'm going to go ahead and shave this down, and I'll report back once I'm done.
All right, now with the bottom shaved off, it comes in smooth as silk. Sits perfectly now. Okay, now we gotta add some Loctite to the thread on that rod that goes all the way through the flap. And Loctite sucks at packaging their materials, so it basically dried up in there and I had to cut the tip. So now I'm applying it with my finger. Fun. All right, so you go ahead and slide in that rod. You go ahead and screw down that peg bit. I don't know what it's called, but make sure that you add the washers and you tighten down to where it's nice and snug and the flap is still moving freely, just like that. Look at that beautiful product. I should be a hand model. Magical. All right, so now you're gonna take your retention washer. I used the tip of my screwdriver there to just push it in. It worked flawlessly, as you can see. Highly recommend that. You put the cap back on, and now you're off to the races. Head back over to the car with your fully assembled DISA valve. Don't forget that those gaskets are thicker, so they are going to require a bit more of a push. Go ahead and screw in the top right and the bottom left bolts, Torx bolts. Put in your charge pipe. I actually had a K&N filter that was just laying around, so I threw it in there just for fun.
All right, boys and girls, we are all done. It was definitely a lot more annoying of an install than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be in and out in 1 hour. No, it took way longer. But mostly because that part, I think, may have been defective. And I think I jumped the gun on my earlier statement about me not recommending this kit. I fully recommend it. It's definitely a good kit. It works as it should, as it's advertised, and it's running like a kitten here. So I would highly recommend buying one for $40. Even if it doesn't fit perfectly, you can just grind off the bottom and it worked just fine. Just make sure they use those little washers that are included. Basically, they go, the washer goes on the rod, and then that rod goes into that swivel thing. I can't remember what it was called, but it's the one that has a little lever on it. If you do that, I think you'll be okay. And now the car, at least in that area of the engine, is totally bulletproof, and that's a worthwhile afternoon, I think. But if you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to add them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to address any questions that you guys may have. Yeah, and other than that, please. I've seen the spike of likes and subs recently, which I really appreciate. So if you guys can continue to do that, and please share this video to anybody that you know that has an E46 or Z4, basically any N50, N52, or N54 engine. That would be awesome. Well, guys, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.